Are you a big fan of Carcassonne and tile laying games? Well, this is the Carcassonne fan video for you, because these are some of my favorite Carcassonne spin-off versions of the original game that I love to play with my friends and my family. Hi, my name's Danny. I'm an avid modern board gamer from Australia who loves sharing my passion for this hobby with you, my friends, and my family. Come and join me on this journey, and don't forget to subscribe for more wholesome board game content. When I first played Carcassonne, in fact, I've got quite a few memories associated with Carcassonne, and that primarily being it was my guest book at my wedding. So basically, when me and my hubby got married, we placed a lot of Carcassonne tiles out on each of the different tables at the wedding during the reception, and people actually signed and drew their own little pictures on our Carcassonne tiles. We gathered them all back at the end of the wedding, and now we have our own wedding version of Carcassonne with all our beautiful messages from our friends and our family. And so every time we play that version, it's really cool to read some of the messages that people left and some of the weird drawings as well. So Carcassonne really holds a really strong place in my heart, mainly because it's one of those games that is really easy to teach. There's very minimal setup. You basically just start with a single tile and basically you're off. And there's such great branching decision choices that happen in the game. The idea that you're given one tile and you've got to decide where to place it on this shared map. And then you're also going to decide if you're going to commit a meeple to that tile that you just placed, and if you're committing that meeple to a particular feature. And this is where the branching happens. So if I commit my meeple, say, to a road, I'm going to try and aim to build like a really long road. But there's a little bit of a twist to that. When you play with other people, they're going to be trying to limit the length of that road for you. You're going to be trying to elongate it and stretch it out and trying to find ways to add your piece to the map, whereas other players are going to try and seal that off for you because they don't want you scoring a lot of points. And so there's this really interesting indirect jostling that really emanates throughout the game. And the beauty of Carcassonne is in its simplicity, and the simplicity comes with some immense depth and interesting moments that happen throughout the game. Number 5 is a version of Carcassonne that I really enjoy, mainly because of its theme. In fact, this theme is very detached from the original medieval version of Carcassonne. What I like about this version is the fact that you're in Africa, you're on a safari, you're trying to spot different animals and exploring the savannah. It also retains the mechanics of the original game and gives you that sense that you're still playing Carcassonne, but in a completely different setting. This was part of the Around the World Carcassonne series, and it's called Carcassonne Safari. What I like about this game is in the original game, you're building these roads and making sure that they're long, and you're connecting them together and scoring a point for each section of the road. Here, you're actually connecting roads, but you're trying to have diversity in the types of animals that are along this little jeep route. And the greater the diversity of animals, the more escalating victory points you'll get. In this game, you're also going to be gathering different watering hole tiles, which feature different animal symbols on them. When you score a particular feature, you might be able to add a watering hole tile animal to it to try and boost up your score. So for example, if I was scoring a road and I wanted to put a lion on there, which wasn't already on the little trail, I put the lion on there and be able to score extra points for it. Then you've got the bush, which is kind of like the castle in the original game. And in the bush, you kind of want to group like birds together because you get points for all the birds that are above your bush. And when you complete the bush, you also get to score. In addition to this bush scoring mechanic, you can also add extra animals to then also boost or get your scoring up as well. The other feature is the boab tree. If you place your meeple on the boab tree, you're going to actually draw 2 random waterhole animal tiles and put them into your little personal supply. That's how you get those particular animals that I just mentioned earlier. And instead of placing a meeple out on a tile that you just placed, you can actually instead place a water hole anywhere on the map, provided that there's an open space in the corner of one of the square tiles that is already placed. So if there's like a forest in one corner, you can't put the watering hole tile there, but if there's like an empty field space, you can place it on that particular corner. And why might you want to be placing these quarter or quadrant shaped animal tiles out? It's because if you're the first to place it, you get some points. And then if you're second to place it, you get more points. If you're third to contribute to that same water hole, you get even more points. And then once the water hole is complete, the owner actually gets another 3 points. So contributing to the water hole kind of occurs as a collective group, which feels very thematic because you're like all these animals coming down to the same place to drink some water. So you're all getting points from that watering hole, but the owner of the watering hole actually gets points when they first place and when it's complete. And so you're kind of semi-helping the other players. And, you know, as the owning player, you're trying to complete that water hole to get the extra points at the end. And so there's a whole interplay of different dynamics that this game provides. You've even got these little ranger jeeps that are placed on the perimeter of the collective map. And if you place a tile there, you can place a meeple in that spot and you can actually score 3 points because that jeep kind of incentivizes you to position a tile that you've got in that location. And so the jeeps then give you the power to move that jeep somewhere else. So if you think, oh, that jeep is going to help me continue that road, and so if I get another road piece, you get 3 points, not only for, you know, moving or placing the tile where the jeep is, but then eventually when you finish that road, you're going to get points too. So it's kind of a new layer of scoring, a new layer of strategic thinking that's really simple to pick up, yet it's going to be a little bit more interesting and dynamic when you play it. Number 4 on my list is a version of Carcassonne that is cooperative. Yes, it's probably the only cooperative version of Carcassonne that I know, at the point of filming this video, of course. It's a game which has a spooky theme and it's best played around like Halloween, because basically there are 5 different scenarios which are incredibly difficult. I don't think I've ever won any game of Mists over Carcassonne, and yes, that's the game. But basically, you've got ghosts that appear, you've got graveyards, there's little hound dogs that come out, there's a cemetery, there's like haunted mansions. But basically, you're trying to connect the fog together, you're trying to clear the ghosts, because if you have to place ghosts out and you don't have enough ghosts in the supply, you automatically lose the scenario. And what's really hard about this game is actually finishing things off and clearing those ghosts off, because the ghosts are in very, very limited supply. And what I found when I play this game is that as soon as one game finished, I really wanted to play it again. Mainly because it was like, wow, that was super tight, that was super tense, that was super challenging, and often the objective of clearing it off and fulfilling the 5 different scenarios is really, really difficult and really challenging. And I like the little different variations of scoring that get introduced when it comes to the different scenarios, because you do try to aim for a particular score range in order to pass the scenario. But you know, in this version of the game, it plays really, really great solo. I've often played it just on my own when, you know, I just want like 15 minutes to fill in, I've had dinner, I've had a long, hard day at work, I'll just get the game out and actually play. It's so easy to set up, so easy to play, yet the challenge factor of the game is immensely satisfying and quite difficult too. This is one of those games where you don't necessarily need to pass the first scenario in order to try out the other scenarios later on. They don't kind of connect in that way, but they do increase and escalate in difficulty and challenge. So be prepared to get a butt whooping in this game. Number 3 on my list of favorite versions of Carcassonne is actually the original version of Carcassonne. Now, I won't go into depth of the core base rules, but what I want to draw your attention to is the River and Abbot expansion. The River expansion in Carcassonne kind of varies the starting situation that kind of can feel a little bit stagnant if you're just playing the base game. The River expansion allows players, when they're starting the game out, to draw from this river deck, they'll start with the starting river tile and they'll be placing the river out, creating an interesting configuration. As the tiles are placed out, players will be able to still decide to place their meeple out on a starting river tile. And you keep doing that until the river tile stack is empty. What this does, it creates a little interesting backbone shape to how the game is going to begin. You might have a little snaking river that kind of begins, or you might have a straight river, or a river that kind of bends and then goes around like a C shape. And so by placing these river tiles out at the beginning of the game, players are kind of committing a little bit earlier to different features they want to place out. If there's like a river tile that has a little bit of a castle, you might want to build the castle that stems from that tile. If you have a river tile that has like a road or bridge stemming from it, you might think, oh, I might commit one of my meeples to that tile because I might want to build a road out that stems from that river tile too. And so the river tile really restructures the shape of the map that you play each time, and whilst it doesn't vary the rules of the game too much, it does vary how the map evolves and the shape of the map that develops, which I really think this game needs, and is really cool that it is included in the base game. I also like the abbot expansion, because the abbot you can place on a garden or a monastery tile, and if that tile is surrounded by 9 other tiles, you get to score as you would do with a monastery tile. But in the abbot's case, you can actually, instead of placing meeple, take the abbot back into your supply and later on put the abbot somewhere else. It gives you that extra flexibility of going, you know what, I probably overcommitted to that tile. I don't think that tile's going to finish. I can take it back and then place the abbot somewhere else where you kind of already developed the map, or someone else has already developed the map for you. You want to be like, I'm going to nab this monastery spot or this garden spot now because I can see it's going to be finished in a turn or two time. So that kind of added flexibility and restructuring of the game just adds for some, extra moments of pop and fun. Number 2 on my list is a version of Carcassonne that, yes, has you going to South America this time and exploring the Amazon. And basically in this version of Carcassonne, you'll be racing your boat down the Amazon River. What's really interesting about this version is that the tiles are placed that kind of stems off from this river racing mechanism. In the game, you'll be connecting tributaries together, which are kind of little streams, and based on the streams that you complete between rock features, if there's any fruit icons on the way, you'll get bonus points. And they're kind of like the roads in the original Carcassonne game. You've also got villages in this game, which are kind of like the castles in the original game, but here the villages, you'll also score 2 points per village space, and then you'll also have the option of not only placing a meeple, you can actually instead place a little hut. And the hut that's placed out is going to score for the different variety of wildlife that are in the Amazon forest at the end of the game that are kind of connected to that hut. And so you want to try and ensure that the tiles that are placed are going to have a variety of wildlife, because it's going to get you more points in that way. There's also different little boat symbols. So when you're connecting your tributaries together, there's little boat symbols on there. And if you connect a boat symbol, you get to move your boat down the main Amazon River 1 space. And if there's 2 boat symbols or 3 boat symbols, you get to move that many spaces. So that's kind of how you push your boat along. If you don't place a hut or meeple, you're forced to move your boat along anyway. And so there are certain river tiles that have like a little exclamation mark, and when that river tile comes out, you have to place one of these double Amazon tiles that can kind of fit like enough spaces for 2 boat sections. And then a scoring occurs, and whoever's furthest down the river gets the amount of points equal to the sum of the caimans and piranhas that that player has passed. And the second player gets points equal to the sum of piranhas that that player's passed, and the other players don't get any points. But they do get a little benefit of a push up 1 more space along the river. It creates an interesting new dynamic to the game where the focus isn't solely on scoring the forest, scoring the animals, scoring the village, but you're actually trying to push down this river, because towards the end of the game, the ranking or the placement of your boat is going to really swing the points in your favor. And so you're almost like attached to this side chord where you're like, oh, I'm rock climbing or abseiling down this cliff. if you fall off, something's going to pull you and tug you back in. And so you're like trying to branch out and move away and trying to build this kind of map in all these different directions, but you're kind of constrained to the streamed nature of this linear, meandering Amazon river. And so you're trying to create these big pocketed regions, but it's harder to do so because the river keeps extending. And that is another rule in this game, is that you can't build past the river head, and so you can only build up to where the river mouth is, and until a new river piece is placed, you can't really build into that region or in that row. And so it creates a new level of restriction that I actually really like, because in some of the other versions of Carcassonne, there's too many choices, whereas here you're now thinking, oh, what is the best choice? I can only place it in these kind of 5 different spots. Which one is going to help my strategy the most? And it feels a little bit more constrictive, and then it kind of feels like the map evolves down the table as you play the game. And then there's that quick dash for the finish line near the end, which I really love. And so I guess that's why it sits at my number 2 position. It's a little bit more advanced than the other versions of Carcassonne, but one that I really love the table presence of. Now it's time, my friends, to reveal my number 1 favorite standalone Carcassonne game. And it's one with a kind of more of a prehistoric theme to it. And what I really like about this is it takes the core DNA and the heartstrings of all the other versions of Catan, strings them together into this beautiful package that makes it a really nice, deeper strategy game compared to the original version. And if you are someone who likes medium weight Euros, this is the one for you, because the scoring here is really dynamic and fun. The version I'm talking about is Carcassonne, Hunters and Gatherers. This version has some new art to it. I know there's an older version with some different art, but this one really pops off the table. I love the really vibrant greens and blues and seeing all the little fish in the rivers. I like it because of the thematic nature of this version. First of all, you're still connecting your streams and rivers together. You're placing a little fisherman down on the river, and when you finish the river between 2 lakes, you score for the river pieces as well as the number of fish that are in those rivers. Alternatively to placing a fisherman, you can also place a hut, and that hut will belong to that river system, which is like a complete river. By the end of the game, the rivers are going to kind of be on their own and separate from other rivers, and so whoever has the most huts along that single river system is going to score extra points for the number of fish along there, which is inviting for this different area control element in terms of the long-term strategy that you're going to play into this game. But that's not all, folks. You also have these forest regions which score kind of similar to the castles in the original version, but now you've got menhir monument rocks, which allows you to draw from a new tile or new stack of menhir tiles which have really unique features on them, like mushroom rings, mammoths. Invites for some unique new scoring elements and changes to the dynamics of the game, which I really like. And also lay your meeples down as little hunterers, because in the fields in this game you've got lots of different animals that you can hunt at the end of the game. And so if you've got deer, you get a point for deer, but then if you have a tiger, that tiger will eat the deer and cancel that point out. And so you're trying to make sure that you've got higher tiered animals, not maybe more lower tiered animals, because at the end of the game, whoever has a hunter in that particular region is going to hunt, and you're going to got these little X tokens that you're placing out to score them. And so that really invites for some different tiered level scoring. And so when it comes to the menhir tiles, there's quite a few different features that really change the dynamic of the scoring. You've got a little extra lake tile with like a person rowing a boat, which allows you to score 2 points for every connected lake to that tile. You've also got like a trap, which basically doubles the score of animals when it comes to hunting at the end of the game. You've got fire, which basically chases away any tigers in that particular field that are connected to that fire tile. But you've also got little mushroom ring tiles that score you 3 extra points when you finish off that forest. And you've even got shaman, which can actually chase away some of your hunters, farmers, which can push you back a little bit in the game. The little dynamics and obviously the timing of when they come out will really impact how the game evolves. And plus, you might not see all of the menhir tiles throughout the game, because the main stack of tiles in the game might run out before you get to place or finish off these different areas. So from game to game, you're going to see different menhir tiles and see how they actually change and influence the strategy and how you respond to different situations from game to game. So which are your favorite standalone Carcassonne style games? Please let me know in the comment section below. I love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, hear your experiences, and I'm always keen to start a conversation. If you really found this video super helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and also heading over to my Patreon page if you want to buy me a coffee a month. I would truly appreciate it. Otherwise, this is Danny signing out. Hope to see you again in the near future. Goodbye.